So welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into what's honestly one of the most silent, yet absolutely destructive forces in trading. It's this sneaky psychological trap that catches pretty much every single person who steps into the markets. And the crazy part? It has absolutely nothing to do with your technical analysis or, finding that perfect indicator. In this explainer, we're breaking down the paralyzing trap of the need to be right, and way more importantly, how you can actually rewire your trading mind to beat it.
You don't lose in the market, you lose in your mind.
This is Trained Mind Trading, the channel for traders who know what to do, but still don't do it. And here, you'll train your mind to finally change that.
I want you to just take a second and let this quote really sink in. The moment you need to be right, you stop being a trader and start becoming a victim of the market. Wow. I mean, that hits right at the core of why so many incredibly smart, capable people just bleed capital out there. Because think about it, when you're completely fixated on proving your analysis is flawless, you're not actually playing the market's game anymore. You're playing defense with your own ego, and trust me, that's a game the market is more than happy to let you lose.
So what exactly are we talking about here with this need to be right? Well, essentially it's a massive ego attachment to your decisions. When your prediction gets challenged by actual price action, you don't just see it as a normal data point. No, you see it as a personal attack. And that makes this an identity problem, guys, not a strategy problem. You're no longer rationally trading an asset, you're just desperately defending yourself.
Now, if you're sitting there wondering if this actually applies to you, well, let's look at a few relatable behaviors. Do you hold on to your losing trades way too long, just hoping, praying they turn around so you don't have to admit defeat? Or what about cutting winners early, just to lock in that high of being right? Maybe you literally find yourself arguing out loud with the market, which is absolutely a fight you will never win, by the way. Or maybe you turn a quick day trade into a long-term investment, just to avoid closing it out in the red. Or, hey, maybe you just avoid your trading journal entirely, because looking at your mistakes causes literal, actual emotional pain. If any of this sounds familiar, you're dealing with the classic symptoms of a mind that's just obsessed with being right.
Okay, let's dive into this next section. Why your brain betrays you. Because to fix this whole mess, we really need to understand exactly why our brains are hardwired to sabotage us like this.
And this brilliantly illustrates the specific psychological mechanisms at play here. It's like a giant puzzle. When reality contradicts what you believe, your brain gets hit with cognitive dissonance. So what do? You start ignoring the cold hard evidence and justifying bad trades just to relieve that mental discomfort. Then you've got confirmation bias. Let's say you're long on a trade. Suddenly you only click on bullish analysis and completely ignore all the glaring bearish signals, right? And finally, we have loss aversion, which comes straight from Kahneman and Tversky's prospect theory. Basically, we feel the pain of a loss twice as intensely as the joy of a win. So your brain vastly prefers to just stay wrong and hope, rather than accept the very real sting of taking a loss.
But honestly, we can't entirely blame ourselves for this. This need to be right is deeply rooted in our childhood and our schooling. From day one, we're taught that having the right answer makes you smart and having the wrong answer makes you incompetent. But here's the kicker. The market doesn't care about your spelling tests or your GPA. The market is pure chaotic uncertainty. There is no permanent correct answer out there, which completely breaks the conditioning we've relied on our entire lives.
Which brings us to the next section, profit over prediction. Because if we can't rely on being right, what on earth do we rely on? We have to shift our entire focus.
Now, what's really interesting about this next slide is this number right here, 40 to 60%. That is a completely normal win rate for highly profitable, professional traders. Just let that sink in for a second. The absolute best in the business are literally wrong about half the time, but they're completely comfortable operating in an environment where they fail that frequently because they fundamentally understand one massive truth. And that truth is, the market does not reward being right, it rewards being profitable. If you can just abandon this intense need for prediction accuracy and instead obsess over your risk management, literally everything changes. Because that obsession with being right, it silently destroys your discipline, eats your capital, and leads to those massive drawdowns and toxic revenge trading cycles. But if you manage risk properly, you can be wrong 50% of the time and still pull incredible profits. It's wild, but it's true.
All right, moving on to rewiring your trading mind. Because, understanding this conceptually is one thing, but actually implementing it, that's a whole different ballgame. Let's look at how we shift this paradigm.
It all starts with a very deliberate mental shift. The old identity-based mindset is constantly screaming in your head, I must be right. We have to actively catch that and replace it with a new, process-driven mindset. I must execute my system. Just by shifting your focus from prediction to execution, you take your ego entirely out of the equation. And this totally extends to how you view every single setup. An amateur thinks, this trade proves my skill. If I win, I'm a genius. If I lose, I'm a total fraud. But the professional, they think, this trade is just one of 1,000. This borrows heavily from Mark Douglas and his whole concept of thinking in probabilities. Any single trade's outcome is basically random, but your edge, that plays out over a series of hundreds of trades. When you start seeing a trade as just one tiny drop in an ocean of 1,000 trades, that emotional attachment just completely evaporates.
Let's move to practical mental exercises and see how this builds into actionable frameworks to stop the self-sabotage. Okay, so here are 3 immediate steps you can take to decouple your identity from the outcome. Step 1, physically say out loud, this trade is not me. I am a decision maker, not the outcome. Seriously, say it out loud.
This trade is not me.
Step 2, predefine your invalidation point before you ever click that buy button. You need to know exactly where the logic of your trade is proven wrong and put your stop loss there without an ounce of emotion. If price hits it, you aren't failing, you're executing correctly. And step 3, practice fast loss acceptance. When that loss hits, you exit immediately. No hesitation, no just one more minute.
Now, to build up that muscle memory, try incorporating these daily mental exercises. Before every single trade, give yourself a pre-trade statement. I accept I may be wrong on this trade. Next, work on loss desensitization. You can literally take tiny intentional losses on micro positions just to train your primitive brain that a loss does not equal physical danger, like the world isn't ending. And finally, to shatter that confirmation bias we talked about, practice opposite thinking. While you're in a trade, actively ask yourself, what piece of data would actually prove me wrong right now?
So, the absolutely crucial point here is that we have to completely redefine what winning actually looks like. Winning is not extracting profit from a single random trade. Winning is following your process. If you follow your entry rules, you manage your risk flawlessly, and you get stopped out exactly where you plan to, that is a perfect trade. Let me repeat that because it's so important. A losing trade can absolutely be a perfect trade.
Moving on to the adaptable trader. Let's bring all of this together and define the ultimate goal of all this psychology work.
Here's the hard-hitting reality you really need to take away from this explainer. You do not lose big money because you're wrong about the market direction. I mean, every professional out there is wrong all the time. You lose big money because you refuse to accept being wrong. It's that stubborn refusal to accept reality that literally burns accounts to the ground.
Think about it like this. The best traders in the world are very rarely the smartest people in the room. In fact, high intellect often gets in the way because super smart people are used to always having the right answer. Instead, the real pros, they're simply the most adaptable. They react to what the market is doing right in front of them, not what they predicted it was going to do yesterday.
So remember, your edge in these markets is never going to be your ability to predict the future. The future is completely uncertain. Your true edge, literally the only thing you have absolute control over, is your flawless execution of a tested system. So, as you close out of this explainer and pull up your charts today, I want to leave you with one final question. Next time you go to click that mouse, will your trade be a desperate prediction born from ego, or will it be a flawless, detached execution? The choice is entirely yours. Keep executing, stay adaptable, and we'll catch you in the next one.
That's one more pattern. Named, understood, and now in your hands. Becoming a profitable trader isn't about the next setup. It's about becoming the person who can follow it. Subscribe for your regular bite of wisdom. Train the mind, the trades will follow.